Going live, going
Right.
live. Here we are. Hey, we're talking today, Scott and I, about, sometimes when you're doing stuff in your company and then there's a glitch, Jesus, a glitch that you didn't foresee and you didn't need to buy something that you bought, or I mean, this is going to happen. And the,
Yeah.
the point is, this is going to happen here and there when as you grow. I mean, because you're going to have to troubleshoot, you're going to have to figure out new things. The bigger you get, the more so many other little moving parts. And Scott was working on his with Dropbox today, or this, and it just kicked his butt. And sometimes it does. Our companies sometimes kick our butt, and we have to readjust and refigure. But yet we go on. So this is a perfect example. Everything in life is not a piece of cake. If it was, everybody would be doing it every single day, but not. Scott just gets up and works his butt off every damn day. This is the truth. Now, and so his glitch today was Dropbox, and mine is my email and my second office. So we both have a glitch today, and I worked on mine. My glitch, I would say at least 5 hours. 5 hours, and I still haven't fixed my glitch. And it's probably with some tech could do it in 2 minutes. But when you don't know what you're doing, and you just don't know until you do. So sometimes just understand, pat yourself on the back for being dedicated, and sometimes you'll have these days. It just happens.
Yeah,
What
and
do you
it also breaks down to, do you have the people around you that do know the answer? I actually pay for an IT guy whenever I have questions. I just send him an email, and he sends me a bill at the end of the month. I have him doing a lot of things. With the app, I have him taking my emails and putting them onto Google so that I have more control over, my emails being sent out and having more control of the Google Suite. Now, it's not a free Google account, it's a business account. And I didn't even understand how important that was. So when you're dealing with websites and emails, I was using a service called Bluehost, and at the time when I got it, it was pretty good. They were outsourced or they were bought out by another company, so they, you know, pretty much got cheaper work, and people didn't know what they were doing, and my website would go down. So it leaves me to question whether or not, if somebody was attacking my site, or if there was just insufficient, people, managing it. And when you have an IT guy, somebody that actually knows a thing or two about a thing or two, they can explain to you what exactly is going on. Especially this guy, he owns his own server and he's very knowledgeable about it. And whenever I ask him a question, he's able to go in and fix it really quick. So it's up to you what you want to do with your time. Is it easier for you to spend the money to have somebody that knows what they're doing and get it done as quick as possible? Or would you rather spend the time to go ahead and figure that out? Because that's something that we talk about in, life coach class, like do what you do best and hire the others to do the rest. There was another book that I read where this guy was the Body Boot Camp. Actually, he was a great innovator. And if you want to read his book, Fit Body Boot Camp, I forgot the guy's name. There was one story inside of that book where he said he started up his most successful company during the economic crash in 2020, or it was one of the economic crashes. So it was either 2008 or 2020 or something like that. And what he did was he took people were going to gyms at the time, and they were hiring body trainers, right? And it was really expensive if somebody wanted to get a trainer. So he came up with the idea of getting like a broken down warehouse or a gym or something like that, and created the model of, we'll have a trainer and then we'll have a class. So you guys would just come in. It would be like you were getting one-on-one training, but instead of, one-on-one, it was, a small group of people, maybe up to 20. And that's the model that he came up with. Another story inside of that book, which I found phenomenal, which, ties back to what we were talking about, is that he was in the middle of making a huge deal because he was going to scale that idea and scale that business. And he had hired an assistant. And for some reason, there was something going on with the garden hose. And he spent a bunch of time, mowing his lawn when he should have been on a call, getting ready to scale his business. And he left it to his assistant to do it. Well, he ended up losing whatever that deal was. And then the moral in the story of the book was, well, just hire a garden person to do the gardening so that you could do the things that you want to do when scaling your business. And not everybody that you hire is going to be on the same level that you're at, especially if you're hiring an assistant. They're not going to know inside and out what the business model is. Another thing that happened to me recently was that I ended up connecting with a company called Photo Boys, and they own a warehouse that is full of corporate toys. And what I mean by corporate toys is that if you took a little picture and then you put it on the wall and they can make a collage, this is a company that's just built for corporate entertainment. They have boxing and basketball, air hockey, things like that. So basically, these people reached out to me because they had one of those big production events, and they don't do DJs. So they called me up and asked me if I could get a DJ for them some Saturday in October. So I had to build a relationship with these guys real quick, because when they talk to me, they're from New York, they're fast talkers. And one of the lines that he said to me is, well, make sure to not to have any logos at this event, because we're going to build a relationship, right? We're going to think about the long run. So in his mind, he's probably been screwed over by a bunch of low life DJs that just want to take his clients. And he was making that very clear to me that he did not want that to happen with us. Probably been burned before. So basically, I had another connection of mine who is a planner. So this lady hit me up and said, hey, look, I need some corporate toys for an event we have coming up in December. And I was like, okay, give me a day or so and let me figure this out. Well, while that was happening, I was having this interaction with the Photo Boys. So the owner of Photo Boys gives me a call. And then, of course, he's saying all these things, pretty much like, I would have to say talking down, but with that demeanor, right? Not really talking down, but very stern. So I deflected that whole conversation altogether, skipped right past it and went to, oh, you have toys. Let me hook you up with this person. So he thought I was joking. I was like, no, this person needs toys. And I hooked them up both up together. And he wasn't getting back to me. I was like, I need these numbers. I need these numbers. So I texted him at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he said, why do you text me at 4 o'clock in the morning? I said, money don't sleep. So already I'm telling him who I am, right? So he ends up calling this person, and because I wasn't going to be able to sell his services, I don't know anything about corporate toys. So he ended up saying something along the lines of, I could sell better than you my stuff. And I would like, I hope so. So anyway, I connected those two, and then after he was done having that conversation and realized that my connection could book him all year round, he called me back and was like, okay, how much work can I give you? So the relationship started with, don't steal my gig, and then turned into, how much work can I give you? You see how that works? So anyway, if you're going out there and you're just after yourself, then that's what's, you're going to hurt yourself in the long run. No one's going to want to work with you. And we're all here to grow together. Yet you still want to be careful when you're walking through the minefield, because you just don't know what's out there. And people have a certain mindset. And when they're stabbing people in the back, they don't even realize they're doing it. So if you just live by the golden rule and make the hard decisions, then you'll be much better off. And it may not come back to you instantly. It's one of those things that you have to wait for it to mature. You plant seeds on all these different places, and you just don't know where the fruits are going to grow. That it doesn't really matter as long as you keep planting the seeds, and then you'll just come back to that farm that you had, or that field, and then see, oh, nothing growing over there yet, and then go to the other one. Oh, look at this, a whole landmine. So that's basically what has happened to me recently. And Dropbox, for whatever reason, like, when people talk to me, and they take the easy way out, and they expect me to go along with them, they don't understand my history and my dedication and my drive and the things I've sacrificed to be where I'm at. So when somebody says, oh yeah, I can't do that gig because we're having a family event and I can't get out of it. Like, they don't understand that, like, I did all that I could to be where I'm at. I would clean toilet bowls. I would spend $4,000 to get a ticket to go do a gig for $500, $400, whatever it was. It didn't matter. Like, there was no decision making. Like last night, my files in Dropbox breached two terabytes, and it was $400 to get another terabyte. I didn't even like blink. I was like, I need my team to have my files, and if this is the price I have to pay for my team to have the proper information, and I can't figure out the situation right now, I'm going to spend that money because I need my team to be on point. So if they show up and they say, oh, I couldn't get this file, well, I'd be like, well, I did all I could to give it to you. So again, where do you want to be in life? How bad do you want it? And if you want to be successful, it's all about individuality, right? So basically, when you're on video and showing people who you are and doubling down on your values. Remember, when you double down on your values, you're going to attract like people and repel other people. I've even been noticing some things on my YouTube channel where I said something like, "Oh, flaky people don't really, belong in my circle," and somebody posted, "Well, your circle's just going to shrink then." Good. I want it to. I don't know if anybody's seen that movie 300. If you've seen it, right? There's 300 people and they're going to war. And then another, like a neighboring town, right? They brought like 3,000 people and they looked at them and they were like, "Oh, you only brought 300." And then the guy goes, "Well, what are you?" "I'm a farmer." "What are you?" "I'm a craftsman." And he turned to his people and he said, "What are we?" "Spartans," right? That's the kind of people I want in my circle. People that are diehard, people that eat off of this. The other people that like have day jobs, right? It doesn't matter to them. They're not as dedicated. They're not, in the game. Like this is what I wanted to do forever. I loved music. MTV was like the biggest thing to me. Me and my mom, we would, just listen to music all the time. That like we didn't have much else other than movies and music. So music really moved me, and it spoke to me in a way um, that I couldn't express any other way. And I knew I wanted to be a DJ when I saw, I was a Run DMC on stage, and I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And then people were like, "Oh, people don't use turntables anymore." I'm like, "Screw you, they do." Anyway, some things to think about. And if you guys haven't been following the YouTube channel, make sure to talk about these types of things because again, when people come to you and they say something, "Oh yeah, I can't make that gig because of X, Y, and Z," it's like they don't even understand what your history is or where you're coming from. They haven't even asked, they just, thinking about themselves as usual. I mean, why hold your word? Why would you want to work with anybody if they couldn't hold their word? I do realize things come up, and then I have people that, I have social meets, right? Those aren't required to go to, but even the people that can't make it feel bad and they're like, "Oh, I picked up a gig tonight. I'll catch you on the next one." I even had one of my light techs yesterday. I would invite him a bunch of times. And then yesterday when we were at the gig, he's like, "Man, put me back on the invite. I'm sorry." And that's the kind of people I want in my circle because yesterday when we had to do a show, we had an hour and a half turnaround. We were putting up four sticks of truss, a huge sound system, and everybody showed up and did their part, and it was flawless. So, do you want flaky people or people that are aligned with your vision? I know that was a lot of different directions.
No, that was great. That was head on a good talk because all of it in it, integrity, what I come out of it, it's called integrity at the end of this is basically, what are you going to do? How are you going to build your company, whatever company you have? And are you going to have integrity and do the things it takes to do what you said? Do your word, do your word and don't assume, always have a backup, always troubleshoot what could happen and understand it's your friggin' company. It's you. See, it's your reputation. This is what when I teach people, I've always said reputation is all you have. Every gig is your last gig, really. This is my point. My point is basically you are only as good as your word. Our company says if we don't show up for any reason besides death, we'll pay you what you would have paid us, and you don't pay us. And now that doesn't happen with the people I have because I only work with pretty much the top of the line. And we've had some mistakes where some people were late, you know, and most of the time though it's okay that they stay over, but we say call the client, we give the our entertainers the phone numbers and stuff if they're going to be late at all, even a minute. And but
Well,
most of my people will be 3 hours early or
just remember how you act. You're training people on how to talk to you. So if you allow things to happen, they're going to think it's okay and then continue to do that.
so. Usually in my company, if they make a mistake, it's for me, it's really bad. But if they make two or three, they go down on a list. And we have a lot of entertainers here we can use, so we don't have to use them. What I really work on is always using the best. That's the who will show up. Okay, there's one thing. Even if you are the most talented person, if you can't go to an event, be on time and act professional, even if you have more skills than others, you're probably not going to get hired as much. Just to tell you that, even if you got this great skill, that doesn't mean a lot. It means a lot that you're great, but when you become so ungreat when you can't show up on time, or if you have an attitude at the gig, if I find attitude at my gigs, I put them at the bottom of the list, and hopefully, and they go back where I don't hire them for 10 or 20 years unless I'm just dire. So, and sometimes I won't even hire them then, because you when you accept a gig, you accept it. This is what I think Scott was talking about. People flake out and say, "Well, I don't want to do the gig now." You shouldn't. You took That's your word. And when somebody does that 3 to me, I put them down at the bottom of the list, and I won't get them. I'll just go get other people who can show up, do their work, and be on time, because time, we're selling time on my side. My company sells time, and we sell like 2 or 3 hours at a time, and sometimes four. But whatever our entertainer is doing, we're selling time, and they expect our people to be there, ready, in set, on the dot of the time. So, like Scott's people sometimes probably show up 2 or 3, 4 hours early. I show up usually at least 1 to 2 hours early for all my events. It takes me about an hour just to unload my crap because I got so much of it. Okay. So, but the day really is just integrity. Have integrity in yourself, keep your word, and and like you said, do unto others. How would you want them to treat you? Treat them the same and be professional. What do you think?
Well, there you have it. I mean, that's pretty much sums it up in a nutshell. Just if you don't have a rule that you follow by, then what does that mean? That means it changes every time you're in a different situation. Well, I meant it then, but I don't mean it now, you know. I've had somebody tell me that before too. That's like a narcissistic thing, right? Like, oh, I know I told you you'd get extra gigs if you did this, but you misunderstood what I was saying. So that's why I'm hypersensitive on those types of things, because a narcissist will do gaslighting, and a narcissist will do blame shifts, and a narcissist will do whatever they can to deflect responsibility. So there was another time where this person hired an assistant in the office, right? So every time something didn't go right, he would just blame the assistant. So it was like, well, are you even worth your word? I mean, can we believe anything that you're saying? Are you just going to blame somebody else? Or would you just rather know the truth about a person and just move on from there? Because I actually had this person tell me one time that if you were living a lie, but were happy in the lie, why would you want to know the truth? Because if I know the truth, I can make the proper corrections to get towards the end desire. And when he was talking about living in a lie, or a fantasy is I think the word he used, it wasn't my fantasy, it was his. So keep that in mind as well. Are you working towards your goals? Are you doing the things that it takes to make towards your goals? And that'll make you more developed, a stronger character, instead of being wishy-washy and flowing with the tide. Again, a compelling figure will attract like minds and repel people that don't get along with it.
You brought up something that spurred something in my company too. Is that when you go to a gig, whatever agent you're working through, I work through 80 agents myself, but when we're at a gig, the people I put out on a gig, if something happens at the gig that's unusual, like, and somebody could have got their feelings hurt or whatever, I ask them to call me. Always tell me what happened at the event. If they did something wrong, it's okay. If it was a good, legit
It
thing.
depends on your
And then,
intentions, right? Yeah, as
right,
long as
the
you did
intention.
something with good intentions, I mean, that can be looked at as, well,
Right.
okay,
Right. And they could, yeah. So what I tell, because I would rather have my entertainer than my client most of the time, because the entertainer is going to be there 20, 30 years, and our clients run anywhere from 10 to 20 years. But what I'm saying is, don't lie to you. The person hires you. If something happens, and you just tell your boss or your agent and say, "Look, this is what happened. I don't know if anything's going to come out of it." Because if I find somebody lied to me, I won't use them at all ever again. If I find out people are lying to me for any reason, I just don't. Just like you said, Scott, you don't need them on your team if they're going to be lying to you. You just don't need them. All they're going to do is actually take down your company later on. So if they don't have integrity, like you have an integrity, like Scott was saying earlier, you don't need them on your team. If they're not worthy to be on your team, get somebody else. Find the people who are worthy to be on your team, and be worthy yourself to be on your own team. That's what we're saying. Integrity.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we nailed that one home. And
Okay. Sounds great.
hey guys, make sure to leave a comment, follow on the YouTube channel. Again, I have classes if you want to learn how I was able to build my business. www.coachscottking.com, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Woohoo! Happy day.
All right.